Friends, welcome to the banks of the Orange River in South Africa, where we, with its beautiful, the sun clipping the tippy top of the mountains, the early morning sun, and the beautiful reflection on the water, where we discuss in this video the internal alchemy and lost alchemy of information transfer with its very high internal luminous summit. In this video, we are asking this question: could there be subtle cosmic field energies who might be living interconnecting forces that forms the whole world? I see there is a lot of speculation in the Cartesian world today of a primordial intelligence that might be involved in Bohm's work on the implicate and explicit order. Interesting how things develop. Could these cosmic field energies be living fields, forces, and might the movement of perpetual forming generations in our world, new generations born and others dying off, in which for everybody, birth and decay, this is the shadowy world of an unquestioning sense imagination of Plotinus. Might this possess an interforming connection with one living, all-comprehending form? And can this inner alchemy of hierarchy, the fourfold hierarchy that we alluded to in our introductory video, and psychical formation be observed in the moving paths of observation that are instantly forming through the whole unity, gestalt, of our cognitive fantasy? But how could such a thing now be possible? For we have such advanced notions of distributed cognition. This was a really remarkable insight into that all things in our world have some kind of an intellect, distributed cognition of technology and of evolution in our established sciences. How could there be a living, forming, internal, immaterial world given all these things? One of the surprising conclusions at the end of this video addresses the problem of the troubled agents, sentience. Indeed, a conclusion that may compel us to a future investigation of the whole of the series on lost imagination and intelligent illumination. This video follows on our immaterial aeon, eternity, who is seated above the sensible heaven. For an orientation to what follows in this video, we are going to look at the pre-Galilean observer. Why don't we hear about this observer? Let's see what there is to say about the pre-Galilean observer. The viewer, captured by the latter Platonist Damascius in 600 AD. This viewer stands within an interconnected, through relation, a unity with the living self-moved, self-assembling, a new term I see going around today, of the wholeness of the world, because self-assembly implies living intelligence. Humanity is the centrum of action, the center of action, who is standing within the midst of the discovery of the world or the all, of her knowledge of herself, and the elevation of the wing of the soul, the fantasy. And our viewer is a microcosm, flawlessly moving within the whole totality of the information of his psychical world experience. Here we may observe that our forgotten viewer is not to be subsumed under Cartesian agents. Might there exist, on the basis of this ancient and lost world of imagination, a psychical distribution of intelligence and information throughout the whole and cosmic and supercosmic world? We use our icons, which everywhere indicate comprehending, self-assembling, living illumination, and an intelligent wholeness, which is a revolution of the traditional symbolic representation of Plato by the logicians. We begin with the three super-essential hypostases of Plotinus and the commentary of Proclus on the second hypothesis of the Parmenides of Plato. To ease our understanding, we begin an orientation with our icons that symbolizes the threefold hypostasis of Plotinus. This threefold hypostasis is known in many cultures and theologies through different names and different times. We have the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit of Christianity. We have Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva of the Vedas. We have beauty, symmetry, truth. We have the desirable, the sufficient, the perfect. We have Father, intellect, power. Being, life, intellect. And in the everywhere where we see the three, the one I want to say that's on the bottom, it's not really a bottom, but that I placed in this position is that indicates imaginative formation or contents, the content of the world. The forming content of the world. So they all have the same meaning. Proclus indicate with his threefold being, also described as super essential or essence in his commentaries on the Parmenides. He indicates with this the first mystical procession from the first cause, which is the good, the super essential intelligible triad consisting of being, life, and intellect. Whereas our labels here must not be seen as outside, but are all within wholeness. It's merely for convenience that I put it on the outside. So the whole is an illumination of wholeness. Thomas Taylor observes the super essential hypostasis, considered as participated by the highest or true living being after the first cause, constitutes that which is called intelligible, so that every true being, depending on the gods, is a divine intelligible manifest. It is divine as that which is sacred or light-like. This abiding hypostasis, true living being, feminine power, and intellect, the contents, the outformed contents, made intelligible, contents made manifest, name, word, logos, is the internal object of desire to intellect, who comprehends all form and formation. Intellect, we'll come to that, is a secondary order to this. And this hypostasis is perfective and connective of the nature of intellect, and is the plenitude, the abundance of being itself. We may symbolize this hypostasis of Plotinus, participated by true being, after the first cause. We have placed the first cause, if we look at video 10a, 10b, where we have masculine and feminine energies in a wholeness like this, and the good in the center of the world. We must not see this placement of the vortices, the light vortices, living being, living intellect, which is a one unity, not see as outside of this, but as a wholeness. And we see that our icons indicate fast whirring motions. This is ancient theology coming from Orpheus and Hermes. The highest illumination, immediately after the good, is the hypostasis of living being, living life, and living intellect. So we see that life, which is so perplexing to us today, is eternal, as well as formation of the world is eternal. Living being is an eternally living being, and it's all interconnected with the first cause, the good. A profoundly united unity, says Proclus, a likeness and a union subsisting according to the first cause, the good. A profound union with itself and its cause, and no distinction is here. So what we mean to say is all in one and one in all. But there is more. The internal fiery mystical essence, illuminated essence, is the cause governing all intelligent information, intelligent world formation. This triad can be unfolded as a sacred union who possess the essence of separation within itself. What does that mean? We are going to unfold what this means in the next 6 or so slides. Why separation? Because difference, unified difference, which we have symbolized with the yin-yang, actually the egg of Orpheus that we symbolize like this. Unified difference, unified, is comprehended within this triad. So difference and separation are together. Hence Parmenides, indicating its all-perfect union of this triad, can be divided and tripled into 3 hidden mystical triads. Things are a little complicated in Proclus. The first triad, viewed according to the efficient cause, the good, living being, comprehends within itself living life and living intellect according to cause. Here we see living our hypostasis, which we had in the previous slide, viewed according to cause. That living being comprehends living life and living intellect according to cause within itself. Being comprehends within its intelligence all life and all formation according to cause. This icon indicates an infinite, immensely fast rotation, and most likely beyond non-locality. For these fast rotations, whirlpools, turning, whirring in every way, says the myth, are beyond the incosmic world, are immaterial and at once a living vitality of intelligence. We'll see in the next slide there is going to be a rotation according to separation between these 3, and we are going to start with living life and how living life fits or is comprehended in living being according to separation. The second triad, viewed according to participation and separation, looks like this. We have living life comprehending within itself living being according to participation. Life participates within being because being comprehends life according to cause, and life comprehends comprehends within itself living being according to participation, for life participates within the light of being. And living being comprehends within itself living intellect according to cause, for being is the cause of intellect. All in one and one in all, says Hermes. The third triad we'll see according to participation, separation according to participation. And we see living intellect, vitality, comprehend within itself, living being, and living life according to participation. So intellect participates within living life and living being. For living being and living life are prior to intellect, preceding intellect in a sense. And together, this is known as the unproceeding monad. A monad is a unity. Another word for monad is monas. It is a unity, it depicts a uniform unity. United unity, hidden and without any essential distinction within itself. To some, the super-essential hypostasis of Plotinus, viewed as a united unity with separation and difference hidden within its comprehending cause and its union. Here we have living being, living intellect, and life vitality. unceasing love, hidden and without distinction. The cause of the good is unceasing love and will formation. An unproceeding monad, as we said, the first of three major forming energies and emotions of Proclus. Intelligent motions. From the perspective of divine imaginative intelligent motion of Plotinus, according to our own mystical speculation, we have living being, living intellect, living life, vitality, and in the center we have imaginative motion and feminine power, because the mother is the power of the father. We may see here that living, imaginative, intelligent energy and motion, all receiving, assimilating feminine power with the mystical names of Maia, Chaos, the Divine Mother, indistinguishable from the good in the very center here, the very summit. But all of this is a summit. There's no distinction here. Imaginative motion brings forth from within this profound union the intelligible formation and hidden manifestation of essence, intelligent being, ether, aeon, as we've already seen in our previous video, as one profound unity without distinction. And in the center here we have the good, we have ether, aeon, unceasing love, and infinite power, who, as it were, receives the form, the cause of the Father, and outforms. Where being itself precedes aeon. And we've seen in our comparative video on eternity between Corbin, Jung, and Proclus that Jung's and Corbin's aeon, ether, eternity, rather, is placed in the sensible world. We'll come to this in this video. This whole icon depicts an immaterial, illuminated world above the sensible heaven. Hence, Proclus says, he asks the Divine Mother, Queen Night, says, Maia, supreme of gods, immortal Night, tell me this, how shall I constitute the magnanimous first principles of the immortals? To which Night answers, surround all things with ineffable ether, and place them in the mid-heaven. For Proclus tells us, from this, whoops, that's not good. I got my things mixed up. From this first infinite fountain, which is infinite power, we may understand all infinities subsisting according to the feminine power which is there. The first infinite fountain, the good itself, chaos, the first alone infinity. See video 10b for more. Imaginative motion and the forming tension of opposition between ether and chaos, therefore, is infinite resonance, energy, power, and force, as we've seen in video 10b. The infinite moving intelligence of the most holy and unceasing illuminating powers, vortices or whirring clouds, unfolding all beings, illuminations of light at once. From the perspective of our treatment of divine imagination, we may clearly apprehend that this illuminated, unproceeding monad, who has unceasing love, feminine power, and aeon in its center, eternity in its center, mystically indicate to us the infinite, supreme, and most holy superluminal union of unions of Proclus and Plotinus. And we may perceive how this profound illumination, the luminous fountain of all supercosmic and encosmic depth and breadth, within whose wholeness the totality of the all is enfolded and unfolded, expresses and brings forth from within all the efficient forming causes comprehended by divine imagination in every downward hierarchy. Hence, luminous light powers, causes, are living, immensely fast-moving, forming powers. Not everything you hear every day. We say tiny, subtle field vortices, living resonances, living whirlpools, or living immaterial resonant life, eternal life, and vitality that ever are. I am borrowing from Thich Nhat Hanh. Formative forces of opposition, vortices, proceeding through their wholeness from the most high and most holy places to the last of things. Friends, today we have quantum theorists saying that life must have been present in a primordial form. I think we have reached the point where we have to realize that the material reductionist theories thankfully have come to an end. And here we have a luminous summit, most forgotten, who is the luminous form, immaterial form that holds the whole of the world within its intelligence. But there is more. According to ancient sages, the feminine vivific vitality, ever receiving the form of the Father, a unity of infinite power and form, proceed mystically through their interior intelligent conceptions, powers, living being, all a unity, establishing at once their threefold signature throughout the all. The essence of ancient internal information transfer. This unity of infinite power and form proceed mystically through their interior intelligent conceptions, establishing at once their threefold signature, a likeness of being, throughout the all. There is no part of any minute holographic resonance that does not have threefold being reflected within it, within its motion, This is the essence of ancient internal information transfer. The mystical conceptions in the commentaries of Proclus on more ancient theologies indeed foreshadow and unfold to us an immaterial holographic living light world, comprehended within one luminous sphere. This to me is amazing because, we grapple today with the artificial intelligence, with the binary computation of a holographic world, and here we have a most forgotten prefiguring, literally, of the holographic universe we embrace today in a living, breathing form. But Proclus, conformably to Hermes, Orpheus, Pythagoras, Parmenides, and Plato, unfold the super-essential triad according to another way of explaining. So the previous explanation was according to cause, participation, but it had separation as its focus. In the next slides that follow, we'll see it from another perspective. And I'm putting two perspectives in here in the presentation that says the same thing from two different demonstrations. And this demonstration is going to be from the perspective of an all-perfect distribution into three triads. The super-essential hypostasis of Plotinus, according to an all-perfect distribution into three triads, where the perfect mystically indicate union and the unity, as we have seen in the previous slides. Hence, Plato begins his second hypothesis of the Parmenides with his following union, which he describes, says Proclus, as one being as follows. The first triad, one being, an unproceeding union, not participating in any subordinate forms. Here we see the one, the good, partaking of being. We see our icon depicting one being, a unific and profound union, and we see the arrows indicating whirring motion, moving light, moving intelligence and light, living being which is absorbed in the one, where living being is a unical part comprehended within one being, the one partaking of being, a wholeness, and where we may understand here that eternity, which is hidden around here, aeon, connected with living being, is indistinguishable from one being. Like we said, this is one profound unity, a monad. And we may see that strong union and cause with the good hides both eternity, aeon, and infinite feminine power, which is generated from the one itself, or the good. Hence we may see never failing, infinite, all-receiving power of divine imagination, all-comprehending intelligence, at once brings forth from within their mingling imaginative fiery powers and their motion the profound union and united profundity of true living being described by Parmenides as one being. The one being is the angelic summit of being, which is one being. This is very important. Here is the first indication that we have that angels are involved in world formation. The one being is the angelic summit of being, which is one. Sorry, being which is one. Here, being absorbed in the one is being which is one. And being which is one is the angelic boundary of the one being. So here we have the same principle as the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Son. The Son is absorbed within the Father, and being which is one is the angelic boundary of the one being. And in this union, being which is one may sometimes be viewed as a part of the one living being. And we see that Parmenides constitute the highest four genera of gods and angels according to this summit and its boundary. The fourfold genera of angels are: the first, light or fire; air wandering; aquatic wandering; terrestrial wandering, analogous to the four avatars of Lord Vishnu in the Vedanta and Indian philosophy theology. Orpheus says, "Thence a fiery whirlwind sweeping along obscures the flower of first light, leaping at the same time into the cavities of the worlds, establishing the threefold image everywhere in the manner of a hologram." Hence we see one being, an unproceeding mystical union, where infinite power or force is suppressed by a profoundly luminous union. And through the infinite imaginative motion and energy of the efficient cause itself, the efficient cause, the good, follows the second triad, mystical triad, hidden. Unical multitude, united wholeness, or a unical multitude, the first begotten, generated from the one, a united wholeness, where we see the one and living being, a unical multitude, is collected together through the infinite collective assimilative power of the feminine goddess night or chaos. And we see that the collective power receives, assimilates, and conjoins unical multitude hidden within the one with the multitudes of beings hidden within living being. The second triad, we have an intelligible wholeness, first begotten, generating. We see how feminine power or force generates comprehending within herself united wholeness. This mystical triad is known as united wholeness. From this wholeness, a third triad proceeds, and is brought forth through the unical powers of the efficient cause, or the One. The third triad is brought forth from all united wholeness and is called the first generated. And this is anima mundi, the world soul, and all intelligent vitality. Constitutes the infinite mystical generation and illumination of perfect multitude, the first internal proceeding participation formation, brought forth from within the first infinity and alone power and imaginative motion of Plotinus. See also video 10b, where we see how the third triad, the intelligible and at the same time intellectual order, first generated the one and living being. The one and living being is conjoined through infinite collective generating power and is also described as all perfect animal, soul, and omnipotent multitude, the anima mundi, or world soul. Nothing here has anything to do with quantity and cannot be measured. Proclus comments on this connecting, participating triad of Parmenides. He says, all perfect multitude, this whole unity, is the middle communicative and assimilative connection between intelligible being and intellectuals. It's the connection between illumination, comprehending the whole world, and form and the content. Form is the contents of that world. We say all perfect multitude may be viewed as an interconnecting light bridge between living being, essence, and the intellectual order subordinate in hierarchy to essence. We'll come back to this. Hence, says Proclus, this triad, or perfect multitude, proceeds according to each of the prior triads, flowing and proceeding into all intelligible multitude, immaterial multitude. For infinite multitude demonstrates unceasing love and flow or fluctuating imaginative vitality and motion, and evinces the incomprehensible nature of power. When we view the intelligible and at the same time intellectual order, which is the whole unity called all perfect multitude, from these preceding two perspectives, we may see how they have the same meaning. We may see that the one, so we had, previous to this, we had two perspectives, one according to cause, participation, and separation, and here we have according to a distribution of one being. So when we see the two together, they look like this. The one unity of vital intellect, life, and being forms the connecting vitality, the third mystical triad, a light bridge between essence and intellect, according to separation and union. We have just place these in a different position because it doesn't really matter where they are. It's all a united unity, where we have cause and participation and imaginative motion as the active principle. And here we see that all perfect multitude forms the connecting vitality. It's the same as here: vital being, vital living intellect, the vitality of life, eternal vitality of life, forms the connecting vitality, the middle light bridge between essence and subordinate intellect, according to distribution and union. These two demonstrations of Parmenides reflects to us the same middle connection, the light bridge between essence and intellect, according to cause and participation, viewed from two different perspectives. And here, the same and different, which is contained in the symbol, yin-yang symbol, subsist simultaneously with as a unity within this mystical light bridge. Our three mystical triads we are going to symbolize together. We have the one itself, according to essence and union, living being with eternity, aeon, and feminine power hidden. We have united wholeness with the one comprehending unical multitude, and living being comprehending the multitude of beings within itself. And we have distributive, collective, assimilative power of multiplication, the feminine. And here we see the one, or the good. We have all perfect multitude, generating infinite power and living being. And we see connection. Our rainbow indicates how the unities are interconnected, but they're not, shouldn't be seen as separate. It's all in one, one in all. But for our purposes, we show connection with the rainbow colors, and we see that united wholeness is collected together from essence and union. And as I said, our rainbow indicates illumination and connection. And we see that the third unity proceeding, all perfect multitude, participating according to the previous two. We can clearly see the three primarily effective connective powers within essence. The one itself, prior to being, according to the power of union, constituting the essence of wholes. We see united wholeness according to a distributing power, collecting, measures the things which are multiplied. And we see the last power, the infinite power that generates the formation of living vital forms in all perfect multitude. We see that all perfect multitude forms an all perfect multitude, an illuminating, interconnecting light bridge, which looks like this. They're all interconnected. Now, the light bridge, or perfect multitude, participates prior essence, as we've said, vitally. All vital, living, intelligent light, the light interconnecting bridge between prior essence, one being and union, and this interconnecting light bridge forms the middle connection between essence and subordinate intellect. We hope this makes sense. This video took me a very long time to produce, try and find some icons that might convey the message. I realize it's a little abstract, but I hope you find this well. We repeat essence, superessential essence, living being, living life, and living intellect is connected and is participated through the middle vital living light bridge or resonant whirlpool, vortices. For intelligence and vitality is the forming media between the super-essential hypostasis of Plotinus and supercosmic imagination, intellect, secondary to essence. Intellect is secondary to essence and is interconnected by all perfect multitude. Hence, we may see how the connecting, intelligible, and at the same time intellectual, vital, participating order, the kingdom of heaven, with its generating infinitive power and its all-perfect multitude, connects the essence and union of wholes with the supermundane, assimilative, cosmic imagination or fantasy. We've already treated with this in video 7b, I think. So, the middle light bridge connects super-essential hypostasis of Plotinus with a cosmic, supermundane, cosmic imagination or fantasy. That is to say, connects all intellectual principalities. And we see the intelligible and at the same time intellectual middle light bridge that has immaterial heaven as its monad, earth as the generating infinite power. In other words, all perfect multitude, the connecting light bridge, connects essence and union of wholes, and connects the super celestial, immaterial vitality of OCEAN and TETHYS, the mythological gods, where OCEAN is permanency, eternity, as heaven as eternity, and as being as eternal. So we see the orderly progression proceeding. Tethys is the vivifying, the mother, the divine goddess Tethys, the vivifying, pure, establishing all vitality and motion within herself, and connects this is the super essential immaterial vitality of OCEAN, which is the whole world, in one form of intelligence, with the material heaven, which we'll see in the next slide, where being, eternity, life, and motion is infinitely moved through eternal time. The three hypostases of Plotinus collected in one chain of light. We see one being, the essence, with the interconnecting all-perfect multitude, heaven and earth, monads, connecting the supercelestial profundity and the supercosmic profundity, with Jupiter as the monad. Saturn is the Saturn is the vital intellect in all perfect multitude, and we see Saturn is the monad of Jupiter, which is the monad and principality in the supercosmic world, and he is the monad of Bacchus or Dionysius, who is the mundane fantasy. And we have Rhea, who represents the rivers of life, and we have Tethys, who's vivifying and establishing all vitality and emotion of the rivers of life within herself. So nothing here is separate. We can see how the illumination of one being, essence, is connected and conjoins all posterior participating light vortices or beings or multitudes. Intelligible and at the same time intellectual order, all participating, connecting light bridge, heaven and earth, monads comprehending. And we see the intelligible order, the intellectual order, of Jupiter as the supercosmic fantasy, as we've said, with Jupiter and Rhea as the monad, as the deities presiding, and Bacchus as the subordinate to Jupiter. And we see the light bridge connecting the vital super celestial order, who comprehends material heaven and the total celestial order within itself, which we'll see in the next slide. The super celestial immaterial heaven, OCEAN and TETHYS, is the duad. A duad isn't two, it is a united unity. Comprehends and outforms in their comprehension the sensible heaven, manifesting the material heaven in one sensible form of intelligence, being infinitely moved through eternity. Heavens are infinitely moved through eternity. And we see material heaven comprehends within itself the total celestial sphere. And here we have, in terms of our icon, depicted the celestial sphere, as we can see with the viewer. There is Earth, and we retained a circle around the Earth to indicate a circular motion, and it goes for all the planets. But we can see that they are all interconnected with all perfect multitude, which is the anima mundi in the world of Proclus. Proclus in the Maias, the cosmocrators, the visible planets, are the leaders, and here is the clincher, the leaders of the multitude of souls in each. There's more to the planets and the world that it looks to us from our untamed cognitive views. Gathering together, we can say that each of our triads are all perfect and imparticipable, it's a tongue twister, imparticipable monads. They are not participating because they are comprehending and they are preceding the world. The luminous threefold being of Plotinus, the Father abiding, the Mother multiplying, unfolding, forming, and intellect convertive. And we see that the essence, the Father, is always abiding, doesn't participate in subordinate worlds, but subordinate worlds are outformed from through the action of the feminine forces of aeon and chaos. Aeon, ether, and chaos. Here we have essence, we see essence abiding. Life, we see according to progression, and intellect according to conversion. Forming imaginative, infinite, feminine, intelligent motion is hidden within the depths of thrice-winged darkness, says the myth of the first alone feminine power, an all-receiving and assimilative mother. And one living being, which is passive to the one, says Parmenides, connective, receptive to and assimilative of the one itself. We may sum imaginative resonance, energy and motion hidden within the inmost depths of intelligible light, the cloud, also in Homer, and its revelation brings forth the beautiful, the cause of order, and renders the whole lovely, hidden within the good, the beautiful hidden within the good. Truth, purity, the cause of reality and of existence. Symmetry, the cause of union and communion to all light beings. And we see the other three that's analogous to these, that there means the same thing. The good, which is bound, feminine infinity, purity and power, and we see living being mixed, the contents of formation. This triad is situated, says Proclus, within the vestibule, the entrance to the good. Here we see that there is a chain of three interconnecting orders of intelligent vitality and light or luminosity. The divine, all-luminous, all-comprehending light. Intellectual light, the light of understanding. Sensible light of the Republic, visible image, sense understanding. And here is the thing that distinguishes Proclus from the edifice of Gnosticism. Living light itself is spherical place, a wholeness, who comprehends the whole formation of the all perfect multitudes of the world. Hence we may see that the hierarchical formation of the incosmic all, or the whole of the world, proceed and progress according to the illumination of the three efficient connecting causes of the good, of abiding, proceeding, and conversion. Abiding, proceeding, conversion. To which we dare to add our forgotten Divine Mother, receiving, collecting, assimilating, proceeding and progressing, evolving and multiplying the most obscure language of world formation of all. From this tightly interweaving of living force, energy, motion, and the establishment of the threefold signatures throughout the world, we may perceive that there is not any aspect of the whole world that is separate from, because being is touching on all sides, that is separate from this hierarchical procession, the angelic procession, connecting, participating, the good. The receiving, assimilating, and forming imagination, or the forming fantasy of more ancient theology of Homer and his boat, the subtle body, the vehicle of the soul on the stormy seas of sense, is the same as the living, forming, intelligent vitality of the entire comprehending psychology of wholeness and resonant formation of all beings and their experiences. Indeed, subtle forming resonant fields according to which our own living imagination or fantasy, the wing of the soul, is an instantaneous interforming, perceiving unity, flawlessly forming at once a living unity of moving images within our own cognition, a living unity. Plotinus essentially holds that the images we at once perceive in our cognition are all living images, because they have all images have internal living forms, and we are living beings, so everything is a living formation of cognitive fantasy. And as a unity interforming with Mother Earth, nature, and the whole of the cosmos at once. Does it now not seem to be impossible or problematic to you too, indeed absurd, having heard of a wholly different conception of light, of living, intelligent light? For does it not seem on this perspective impossible for a dead thing or a minute part of a dead thing to acquire a certain form and a certain life through successive random changes and with no interconnection or relation whatever to form, essence, or life, or intelligence, who upon no connection whatever appear out of the mists of its own evolution? Would it not follow, if such absurdities prevail, that he who conceives of such things be justly perplexed about life, will have an impoverished idea of his soul, his consciousness, and how the whole being can grow out of a seed? We think this view is commonly held amongst all ordinary inquisitive people. We have seen that the evolution and involution of the subtle unseen field formations of Homer's boats, subtle psychical vehicles of Proclus, who precedes matter and whose complexity subsists of interior, multidimensional interformation and immaterial, resonant, living, intelligent connections, is far more complex than the embraces of linear lines and Big Darwin would have us believe today. Here we see, through ancient conceptions, a living, forming, acting universe, undergirded by forming, resonant, intelligent beings that cannot be measured, yet they are the very energy fields, signatures, and motions forming the whole wide world, including the images of ourselves. Living field resonances, luminous forms, intelligence that cannot be measured or modeled or digitized, yet always present. It seems to me that unseen feminine and masculine imaginative fluctuating forces, energy and motion may be Bohmian-like. Living psychical holographic fields are indeed foreshadowed in these works. Life, not distant, but ever present, an unexplored aspect of non-local fields, pervades and a very ancient theology, pervades the entire immaterial supercosmic living forming fantasy and the formation of the whole of the mundane or in cosmic world within its illumination. But what about our hitherto forgotten viewer, who stands within the center of action, mythological action, and his through discovery of the world? This ancient viewer intimately acknowledges his forming existence is but a fleeting moment in the unfolding in the vast flow of life and illumination. He acknowledges that he and his self-knowledge is formed and intelligent through formation, connected with all living life and the highest theology. And we observe here that these works most likely require new forms of mathematics and a different perspective and evolution of its psychology. This viewer admits his life and his soul to be capable of an intuitive elevation, and that this elevation interforms with the whole of nature. Our viewer implicitly possesses an imaginative, interforming, and interconnected evolution and involution, up and down, all comprehended in superessential being, an interconnected relation with the highest of divinities. He brings into being his connectivity, this connectivity, through his imagination in potentia, his action and sacred practice. For all labor possess opposites and yields its fruits to the thinker, which we can perceive in our world today. He recognizes his connectivity with the multitude of beings within the whole of the world and all of nature, who interforms and is interconnected with him. He admits that his worldview possesses an interforming impact on all living beings and his experience of nature, which he is responsible for. He admits his ignorance and that he does not know. He acknowledges that there are vast and unknown consequences of especially his judgments and his decisions, and he admits that the wisdom of his own judgment and knowledge come from cultivating his intellectual intuition on high. On high. Multitudes of viewpoints are necessary for growth and elevation of an all interconnected humanity. This is a natural interforming principle of advancing to the good and is most lost in works today. Then to return to our introduction, who is the alchemist? Our own winged, interforming fantasy through inner contact and interformation with the all-forming media of a living, breathing world. The vehicle of the soul, who is rooted within the most high and mystic perfection and purity of light, infinite feminine power, and unceasing primogenial generating fires, the never-failing love of divine imagination. Imagination in ever potentia is the unseen eternal internal alchemy of information transfer, the language of the ever processes of renewal and world formation becoming manifest or intelligible. Thank you for watching our videos. We appreciate that. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Visit us on X. All links and further comments will be in the description. Thank you for your support.